Hello there. When it comes to the small boats, the government has just admitted its failure. The anger out there is now palpable. The vast majority of the people in the UK have come to the end of their tether over our now fully open borders. If it's not net migration numbers in the hundreds of thousands, it's growing tens of thousands making it across the English Channel. And the recent loss of life off the French coast does not seem to have deterred them from making that dangerous journey. And now we hear from a leaked government document that this is expected to continue for at least the next 5 years. An abject admission of failure. However, there is a small glimmer of good news for us at the end of this video. Yes, the Telegraph has published the contents of an internal government memo that talks about accommodation sites at Bexhill, Scampton, Wethersfield and Portland. And importantly, this memo talks about value for money. It says that there is value for money across the sites for the 5 years planned. But Bexhill would potentially be used for longer, it said. And I'm assuming that means the sites have to be cheaper than hotels over the period to be value for money. And that is just plain stupidity. Value for money will be achieved when the country is no longer considered to be a massive magnet, when the people smugglers are put out of business. So housing people in plush hotels does not provide value for money. And over the next 5 years we will probably be ferrying in via the French Navy, Border Force and the RNLI at least another 100,000. But by then Keir Starmer's Labour Party, with their ready-made application accepted rubber stamps, will be in power to quickly reduce the backlog, and everyone will stay. And at the moment we appear to have quite a few within the legal profession who are more than happy to invent stories for their clients to cheat the system. This, I think, is just the tip of the iceberg. And for some reason, I get the impression that the UK and France have a quiet understanding that we will take everyone that puts a boat into the channel. Because that's exactly what is happening. Once they're afloat, the French Navy instantly acts as an escort service to get them over to the UK side of the English Channel. This is fast becoming very unfunny. We've never been in this situation before. To have tens of thousands of newcomers living in hotels is bad enough, but to be planning new accommodation centres as well shows the scale of the problem, and it's growing. And then there's the plans to use converted office blocks and disused student accommodation as well. Back in 2021, Serco was in the process of getting planning permission to house nearly 500 in the former Staffordshire University accommodation, now approved. And it seems there are 10 of these sites in the pipeline. That's the trajectory, folks, upwards for the foreseeable future. Now, many of our younger Brits seem quite happy to fill the country up in this way, but it's now going to hurt them too, where a lot fewer of them will need uni student accommodation anyway, because the best universities are now opting to take more foreign students where the fees are uncapped instead of homegrown students. The university system is going corporate and is looking to the highest payer. It no longer serves UK education. Ah well, less indoctrination I suppose, and maybe a growth in apprenticeships will take up the slack. Anyway, as the national anger against our political classes grows over the issue of the boats, and the silent majority are starting to make a noise, the Guardian reading chattering classes have been getting into overdrive and pouring bile on anyone who questions the right of all comers to enter the country at will. And these outpourings will gather pace and be pushed by the lefty press to try and cow the majority into silent compliance. without a thought that some of them are people we definitely do not want here for security reasons. But it appears to me that the current government is content to make a bit of a noise, but just let the open borders flow, while a future Labour government would just pretend to have it sorted out by rubber stamping everyone in without question. That's my take on Labour's words that they would speed up the process. And I wouldn't put it past them to offer a reset amnesty for all living here illegally, so as to get the number down to 0, ready for the next reset amnesty in 5 years' time, having increased the power of the magnet manyfold. Now, this is not a UK-only problem. The US also has massive problems with newcomers. And the Democratic Party-run sanctuary city of New York has been forced to erect a tent city on Randall's Island to accommodate 57,000. That city has seen 100,000 enter their city in the last year, and the estimated cost for all the new arrivals will be $12 billion up to summer of 2025, the Mayor, Eric Adams, estimates. That's just one city in the USA. Even the Democrats over there are waking up to the problems of having no border control to the south. And the EU also has a major problem. Just look at what's happening in the Mediterranean Sea, with Europol saying a complex, ruthless and multinational migrant smuggling network has developed around Europe's unprecedented migration crisis, thus generating billions of euros for the criminal groups involved. Going on to say that the trend of rapidly increasing numbers is set to continue, and their problem becomes our problem too. But, and here's the interesting good news bit, the EU has agreed to change their rules in a way that might just help the UK. Now, a lot of people claim that those seeking asylum must do so in the first safe country they come to. But that is not true. At the moment. But it soon could be true in the European Union, because part of their now agreed plan is for a new regulation, the EU's highest level of law, to set out the obligation on the asylum seeker to apply in the member state of first entry or legal stay. And the regulations are further beefed up to discourage those applying from moving on to other EU member states, and returns will be made easier. And the asylum seeker will also have to be fully open and transparent with officials or risk being sent back. And new EU-wide procedures will be introduced to tighten their borders, with a new fund to pay for it all. And with the EU moving slowly more to the political right, one imagines there will be little pushback. And by the EU tightening up their borders, it will hopefully have the effect of tightening ours up too, but it might take some time. But the people smugglers will already be hatching their new plots to get around these new procedures. So our government cannot just sit back and hope the EU will do the job for us over the next number of years as they bed their new programme in. Our government needs to switch the magnet off.